His very name is the unit used to measure the strength of magnetic fields. And he has a bitchin' electric car named after him. Tesla. Forgotten by history until the internet rediscovered him in the last decade, Nikola Tesla has become the everyman's hero and the patron saint of selfless geniuses who were totally screwed over by the man. He has become legendary almost instantly because Tesla invented everything, apparently.
He invented, like, everything. He invented the freaking remote control.
Just one of the greatest inventive minds in history.
He was the greatest genius, perhaps the greatest genius to ever live in all of human history.
Better than Edison. Better than Edison. That's what we will take away from this.
Out of his many accomplishments over the years, he powered the city of New York with Niagara Falls.
Have you ever heard of a little thing called alternating current?
Hydropower, radio, robots, Tesla.
An honest-to-God mad scientist.
He's the man who invented static electricity. There was no static electricity before Tesla.
Nikola Tesla, the man who invented electricity.
I'm not exactly sure if I'm getting this right.
In truth, Tesla did hold over 300 patents in his lifetime. A polyglot, he spoke 8 languages. With his eidetic memory, he absorbed entire books and regurgitated them at will. He was an eccentric genius who believed in mysticism, remained celibate his whole life, fed pigeons in the park, and drank whiskey daily because he thought it would extend his life to 150 years. But Tesla would make himself immortal with his inventions and ideas. He is called the Master of Lightning for his work in generating and transmitting alternating current, or AC power, which is the foundation of the modern electrical system. He invented radio, the remote-controlled device, fluorescent light bulbs, the Tesla coil, and the wireless technology that would later be used in television. He discovered X-rays and predicted robotics, and formulated the idea of laser beams, and he even came up with the idea that would resurface a century later as the smartphone. One would think that a man like him would have been drowning in cash. Even the inventor of the koosh ball is worth millions. Sadly, Tesla would be a martyr for scientific advancement. He never won a Nobel Prize and stood by as others took credit for his work. But he wasn't interested in profit. He didn't want his breakthroughs to benefit only those who could afford luxuries, but to be made available to all people. This, he hoped, would be his gift to the world. In the end, he died penniless and forgotten, only to be rediscovered by future generations as the inventor of the 20th century. Nikola Tesla was born to Serbian parents on July 10, 1856, on the eastern edge of Austria-Hungary, which is now in Croatia. Even as a youngster, Tesla possessed the ability to vividly visualize complex figures, objects, and places, stating, "I needed no models, drawings, or experiments. I could picture them all as real in my mind." During his school years, he was accused by his math teachers of cheating because he was able to perform integral calculus all in his head. It was no surprise that young Tesla's ambitions lay with engineering and technology, but his father expected his son to follow him into the clergy. At 17, Tesla contracted cholera and became gravely ill. During one of his worst episodes, he told his father that he would get well if he were allowed to attend an engineering school. When his father agreed, Tesla stated that he came to life like another Lazarus to the utter amazement of everybody. He enrolled in the Polytechnic School in Austria. For his first year, he threw himself into his schoolwork every single day from 3 a.m. to 11 p.m., reportedly not taking a break for Sundays or holidays. His professors were so worried that they wrote to his father to take him home for fear that he would literally work himself to death. Needless to say, Tesla excelled and passed 9 exams that year. But there was a price to Tesla's genius. From childhood, he was nervous and suffered from visual, audible, and tactile hallucinations. Certain benign objects made him react negatively, like pearls and peaches. He was germophobic and couldn't shake hands or touch other people's hair. He displayed symptoms of obsessive-compulsive disorder, stating that he could not eat a meal without counting all of his kitchen plateware and pieces of food, and that he felt compelled to perform tasks in a number divisible by 3. He may have also had synesthesia, as he described tasting something awful whenever he saw paper squares floating in liquid. He developed a gambling addiction that would eventually consume much of his attention, and in his 3rd year of engineering school, he was unprepared for his exams and dropped out. Obsessed with electricity, young Tesla came up with the idea of an alternating current, or AC, generator in his early 20s. Electrification was a new technology, and Tesla theorized that an AC generator would be able to transmit electricity much farther and more efficiently than direct current, or DC power, which was currently in use. In 1884, at the age of 28, Tesla immigrated to the United States to take up employment in New York City as an engineer for Thomas Edison, and was tasked to redesign Edison's company infrastructure that was using the inefficient DC generators. Tesla wanted the financial backing to build his AC motor, but Edison wanted no part of it, as his entire system was built on DC power. When Tesla completed his job, Edison reportedly reneged on his promise to pay a $50,000 bonus, prompting Tesla to resign in disgust. In 1888, Tesla was able to sell his patent for his AC motor to George Westinghouse of Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing Company for $60,000, plus a royalty of $2.50 per horsepower in each motor. Westinghouse would also beat out Edison in a bid to electrify the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. Thus, the War of the Currents was born, with Westinghouse and his AC power versus Edison and his DC power. Spoiler alert, AC would go on to carry the day. But Edison fought dirty and carried out horrible public spectacles of electrocuting animals to demonstrate how supposedly dangerous AC power was. In fact, his campaign led to one of the worst inventions of the 20th century, the electric chair. Just another ploy in which to frighten good citizens away from using alternating current, as it was clearly strong enough to kill criminals. But I guess the joke was on Edison when the first man sent to the chair didn't die from the first jolt of electricity. Actually, no. That's rather horrific. Anyway, while Edison was destroying lives, Westinghouse would go on to use Tesla's motor plans to build hydro-powered AC generators at Niagara Falls. Unfortunately, Tesla would lose his royalties within a few years. By then, Edison, along with J.P. Morgan, had consolidated all of his electric companies into the conglomerate General Electric, which had converted over completely to AC power, which is pretty ironic. General Electric began attempting to take over Westinghouse Electric, and eventually settled with a patent-sharing agreement. With the rise in popularity in AC power, this new agreement left Westinghouse unable to pay Tesla future royalties, which would have certainly made him a very rich man, to say the very least. Wilhelm Röntgen is known today as the discoverer of X-rays, but that's only because of a stroke of very bad luck. Tesla was experimenting with the then unknown radiant energy beginning in 1894, over a year before Röntgen discovered them. Unfortunately, all of Tesla's research, which included notes, models, plans, and photographs, were destroyed in a fire in 1895. But Tesla picked up and kept on trucking with a new idea: wireless transmission. His research led to his invention of the Tesla coil in 1891, which produced dramatic displays of electric current that produced fluorescent and neon lighting, which is still used today in showy science demonstrations. But at the time, Tesla discovered that his Tesla coils were able to transmit and receive signals when tuned to the same frequency. In other words, radio. Through this research, he invented a remote-controlled boat in 1898. Although Tesla received patents for this wireless power in 1900, an Italian upstart nobleman named Guglielmo Marconi filed for a patent that same year for his work on wireless technology. However, his work relied heavily on the use of Tesla coils, and so Marconi was denied a patent. At first. Marconi founded his own wireless telegraph company and received acclaim the following year after successfully transmitting signals wirelessly across the Atlantic Ocean. During this time, he used his name and status to grab high-profile investors like Andrew Carnegie and Tesla's old rival, Thomas Edison. In 1904, the U.S. Patent Office reversed its decision and granted Marconi the patent for radio. To add insult to injury, Marconi went on to win the Nobel Prize in 1909 for physics. Tesla later sued Marconi for patent infringement, only to lose, but later won posthumously in 1943 when the Supreme Court of the United States reinstated the original patents. In 1899, the people of Cripple Creek, Colorado heard claps of thunder and noticed in astonishment that both their feet and their horses' feet crackled and created sparks with each step. They saw light bulbs continue to glow even after they were powered off, and blue halos encircling butterflies. They had no idea that their new foreign neighbor, who had relocated from New York to Colorado Springs, had built a massive Tesla coil with a 40-foot antenna which manufactured lightning, harmlessly electrifying people and animals nearby. It also blew out a power station by setting its generator on fire and left Colorado Springs in the dark. Another event occurred during his time in Colorado when Tesla received repeating signals on his apparatus that he concluded were sent from extraterrestrials. While the press laughed at his claims, it is now considered by many that Tesla had inadvertently discovered radio waves from space. Tesla returned to New York in 1900 and entered an agreement with J.P. Morgan to construct the Wardenclyffe Tower, which was intended to provide transatlantic wireless communication. Morgan invested $150,000 into the project, but Tesla's real purpose for the tower was to transmit wireless electricity as well as communication. When Marconi won the wireless race in 1901, using Tesla's system, Morgan backed out of the Wardenclyffe project in favor of Marconi's company. Over the next 5 years, Tesla attempted many times to solicit funds from Morgan to no avail, and he was forced to abandon that project. Not long after that, his patents for his AC-powered generators expired, allowing anyone to use his invention, which had completely changed worldwide electrification and created multi-billion-dollar industries, without Tesla's permission and without owing any royalties. But much of this is because Tesla made no attempt to get involved in the business end of his revolutionary inventions. So while he sunk into poverty, depression, and increasing eccentricity, like making friends with the pigeons in the park, other people profited extraordinarily from his work. After years of relative obscurity, Tesla announced publicly in 1934 that he had created plans for a new kind of weapon that he called Teleforce, which would be able to shoot a beam of concentrated energy and bring down any warplane. This, of course, was during the years leading up to World War II, and the press eagerly jumped on Tesla's sci-fi-sounding idea and called it a death beam, or death ray. Tesla's description of a beam of concentrated energy describes what we know today as laser, but at the time, this turned out to be more fodder for him as a figure for ridicule, and both he and his death ray were lampooned in a 1941 Superman cartoon titled The Mad Scientist. And despite his claims that drinking whiskey would prolong his life to 150 years old, Tesla died in 1943 at a mere 86. The history books continue to list Thomas Edison as the man who made electric power all the rage, and Guglielmo Marconi as the guy who invented radio. But thanks to the power of the internet, Nikola Tesla has been making a serious comeback in recent years with the rise of nerd popularity.
Nikola Tesla, why did you leave the world behind? Your genius, I say, can never be repaid except by digging up your vertebrae and firing it into outer space. Mr. Tesla, dude, I'd hug you in the nude.
He has been portrayed in films, cartoons, video games, and epic rap battles.
So you can call me Tesla, Nikola, impeccably dressed, giving lessons in electrical nemesis. This will be on the test, so confess to your thefts and let the whole world know what the Serbian did for the wizard of Menlo. History is getting rewritten.
He's often still portrayed as a mad scientist and inventor of Inspector Gadget-like gadgets, or as the sworn nemesis of Edison. But regardless of the mythic image, the fact that this remarkable man is finally getting the credit that he deserves, and some that he doesn't,
He's the man who invented static electricity.
Is better late than never.
Mr. Tesla guy, you rain down awesome from the sky.
Thank you, miss.
Thank you for watching the very first episode of The Famous Dead. Don't forget to subscribe by clicking the big red button at the top of the screen. If you want to know more about this subject, feel free to check out the source links in the description box. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and follow the Famous Dead on the social media links listed below. There's also a Patreon if you're interested in supporting the Famous Dead. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, learn something and live forever.